Okay, so hey guys, how's it going? So in this lecture, I'm going to be talking a little bit about 9 tips for studying for the ABR Part 1 Medical Physics exam. But first, before I begin, I have 2 announcements to make. Okay, so firstly, I have to mention that I won't be going over any questions that are from the particular ABR exam. The reason for this is that the ABR exam, obviously they make you sign many agreements that state you can't speak about any other particular question. So I won't be doing that. But secondly, so in the September-October 2016 AAPM newsletter, it was announced that there will be a new question format for the ABR Part 1 and Part 2 medical physics exams. So traditionally, for the ABR exams, 1 and 2, there are 2 parts, but the main part is the first part, which is 4 hours. It's the general physics part. And it consisted of 80 questions, 53 simple multiple choice questions, 27 the simple multiple choice questions are worth 1 point, and 27 complex multiple choice questions worth 3 points. So for the 2017 ABR Part 1 and Part 2 exams, this will be changed. They're going to be introducing new question formats to the exam. One of the formats is called case-based. Basically, I think the idea is to have the case-based questions sort of take over the 3-point complex questions. The case-based questions are going to be, there are questions where there's multiple parts in the question. So you answer one calculation, which leads to the next, which leads to the third part, rather than one question worth a lot of points. Also, they're going to be incorporating like multiple select questions. You probably know what they are. You've probably answered questions on them before. They're questions where there's going to be more than one answer in the multiple choice question. Also fill in the blank. So once again, the newsletter is September-October 2016, AAPM, if you want to read it yourself. If you're going to write the ABR exam for 2017, I recommend you read it. Okay, so with these changes and questions, I think it is fair to assume that there are going to be many new questions with the change in the formats. Okay, but with that being said, I do have some study tips that I found to work very well for me when preparing to write the ABR Part 1. I think you may be able to incorporate it into your exam preparation. So let me begin. Okay, so tip number 1. This is going to be make sure you register early to write the exam. So ideally, you want to set things up in such a way that you're writing it at the first year mark. I believe how it works is you're an affiliate of your program is going to send a document. You have to register with the ABR yourself. And then 2 months prior to the actual exam date, ABR sends you an email saying, okay, you can actually register for the exam now. As soon as they send you this email, register immediately. The testing centers, often, it's not going to be just medical physics students writing the exams. It's all different kinds of exams at these testing centers. And, there's been stories that they fill up very quickly. And there's also been stories of individuals registering late, just because you're working on your classwork. And, they had to write it out of state or something like that. And it's an early exam, so that can cause a lot of problems. So register early. As soon as they send you that email out 2 months prior to the actual written exam, register. Okay, so tip number 2 is going to be very careful with the time limit. So traditionally, for the ABR general physics component, You're given 4 hours to work through, so that's 3 minutes per question. But you do want to leave a generous amount of time at the end so you can review your answers. So basically that means that you're going to have to write very fast. Ideally, my recommendation would be 2 minutes and 20 seconds per question. You want to leave a generous amount of time at the end. So it is very fast. So basically when you're writing, you never want to be in that situation where you're debating how to answer the question. Basically, you read the question over, you attempt to answer it. If you don't get it or close, like on the first try, basically mark it and move on. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So timing is incredibly important. I believe it was mentioned in a video on the ABR Part 1. It may be in my upload section. I didn't make the video. It's from AAPM. But I believe it was mentioned that the #1 reason people fail is often due to timing while writing the exam. And it would appear so. It's a very fast exam. So because of this, you're going to want to make sure that you're performing practice tests, and they're, as you get closer to the exam, and they're timed. So you almost have an intuition as to how, of the timing of it. You should be used to it. Okay, so tip number 3. Tip number 3 is going to be, it basically is, be careful with the calculator. So go to the Pearson website. They let you download the actual software that you'll be writing the exam on. Practice with the software, make sure you know the software. But most specifically, go to a question where you get to use the Pearson calculator and familiarize yourself with the calculator. It's not like I think the common calculator used, I think, is TI-83. That's what I'm used to. A Texas Instrument 83. That's what I'm used to using. A lot of people, I think, are used to using it. It's not that one. It's an older version, so it's not a very good calculator. Also, there are shortcut keys on your keyboard for particular commands on the calculator. Like I don't actually remember them off the top of my head, but there is a PDF on the Pearson website where they include the shortcuts. I don't remember them. It might be like Shift and E is lawn or something like that. Familiarize with the shortcuts. It allows you to type things in faster. So you want to basically make sure you know where everything is on the layout on the calculator. Because you don't want that to take any time. You want to know where the lawn button is, the exponent button is, every aspect. So personally, using the calculator, I found it to be, very awkward to use, and it had a bit of a learning curve to it. As an example, let's say you're typing in a calculation. You press backspace. Backspace is not delete. Backspace is clear on the calculator for shortcut command. So that would waste a lot of time. Be familiar with typing in the numbers on the numpad, so you can type them in fast. Okay, so basically what you're going to want to do is, when you have that software up, you have that calculator up, practice working through a ton of questions, as many questions as you can with using that specific calculator and the keyboard. So you're very familiar with it. Okay, so tip number 4 is going to be go through the ABR constant list beforehand thoroughly. You should basically know exactly what's on the constant list. So if you were to write a question and you were thinking, oh, I don't remember that exact constant, you should already know if it's on the list or not. Also, when you're going through the ABR constant list, you should be generating ideas on what kind of problems could be asked. You're skimming through the constant list and, oh, that's interesting, that they give you that. What could they ask with that? So that's what you should be doing with respect to the constant list. You should be very familiar with it. Tip number 5 is just make sure that you're going through many timed practice questions. So the ABR does give you some practice questions for ABR Part 1. Those are great questions. There's also graphics questions. Those are really good too. You can purchase those at AAPM Publishing, and there's a purchase collection that's called the Backlist. I think it's only $40. I talked about it in my introduction video. Very good practice questions on that one. Also, there's a textbook. I don't remember the actual name of it. I think it has to do with imaging. It's authored by Walter Huda. It's authored by Walter Huda. Huda. Within that textbook, it's basically, they go through all the different imaging procedures, and he provides like a large number multiple choice practice test along with each one. A lot of multiple choice practice questions there. Of course, there's going to be questions within your program you could use within ADDX. Also, I have a problem series, the MedFist problem series. Okay, so tip number 6 is going to be careful of your dates for writing the ABR with respect to your courses. So you may be taking full-time courses, and be mindful of the final exam dates with your ABR date. Because I think like your ABR exam may be scheduled, let's say, as they may be relatively close. Like the ABR exam might be scheduled, say, for on the 11th. Your finals might finish on the 7th, something like that. So it can be very close. If that is the case, make sure that you are studying well in advance. General concepts further away. As you get closer, practice test. Watch the time. Okay, so tip number 7. This is it's a trick I used for the ABR Part 1. You may think it's a good idea or not, depending on if you like this kind of technique or not. For me, I'm a big fan of it. And basically what this is I adjusted my sleep. I kept pushing my sleep back leading up to the exam in such a way that I would fall asleep the day before the exam at about, at like 8 p.m. So I'd go to bed at 8 p.m. I'd get up for like 3:30 a.m. Now, the reasoning for this is that the exam is relatively early. I believe it's either 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. I think more than likely it was 9 a.m., but you still have to register a half an hour beforehand, so 8:30. In my case, the drive to the testing center was longer than an hour, so I had to factor that in. Also, I really like to study the day of all my exams. I like to study, go over my formulas. So that's basically what I did. And you want to make sure too that you're definitely getting like at least 7 hours for this exam. It's timed. You really have to be on the ball. So like at least 7. If you can get 8, that's amazing. So that's a technique I used. I kept pushing my sleep back. On the day of the exam, it worked almost perfectly for me. I'd recommend giving it a try. You get lots of sleep. I'm definitely going to be using it for the ABR Part 2 also. Okay, so tip number 8 is going to be watch your eating and drinking the day of the exam. So notice that there's a 30-minute register check-in period. And then notice that the first part, the main part, the general physics part, is 4 hours long. It's quickly timed. Now, you are allowed to go to the bathroom, but the problem is that it's a process to go to the bathroom. Like you raise your hand, someone comes over, they check you out, you go, check you back in. And the problem is that the timer doesn't stop. They don't stop the timer. So it's a fast exam, and they don't stop the timer. So my opinion is don't go to the bathroom during the 4 hours. I didn't. I made sure that I didn't, and worked out very good. So because of this, be careful of your eating and drinking the day of the exam. You don't want to be drinking too close to when you write the exam. Also, you want to make sure that you have enough food in your stomach when you do go in for the 4 hours and a half. For me, I find 4 hours and a half to be, leaning towards the longer end of time to not have food. Particularly, it is in the morning, but in my case, I got up early, so it wasn't really in the morning. So, but still, I ate a bunch of food before I went and worked out very nicely. Okay, so tip number 9 and my last tip. And it depends if you like this idea or not. Me, I really like incorporating this idea. And basically, the idea is that if you do decide to use my early to bed trick, consider doing some kind of exercise in the morning when you are up. This is something that I did. I believe I walked for like an hour and 20 minutes within that early morning time. So basically, in the morning, this is what I did. I ate a big breakfast. I had a cup of coffee. I studied. I went for an hour and 20-minute walk, and then of course I had that like longer than hour drive to make sure I'm there early. So why walk for an hour and 20 minutes? Well, I mean, the reason why is that, if you're studying too, and if you look at the entire time of the exam, it's approximately 6 hours and a half, and you have to be sharp for the whole time, or you're seated the whole time. So in my case, I don't want to be, seated while I'm studying, going over formulas, seated for the drive in the car, seated for the exam. It's a lot of sitting for me without any getting up, moving around, doing exercise. I knew this ahead of time, so I planned it in such a way that I did exercise in the morning. I found when I was writing the exam, I was very sharp.